You should only look at one continent. Brother seeking out your compliment. You should only look at one continent. Never mind the geographic location. When you look at her God, you know where she from. Look at her hair, son. Look at her. Damn, son. Nah, I'm saying. Don't get it twisted. I respect your intellect too. Nah, queen, this isn't just sexual. Love and respect is due, but I'm a man with words fail to be adequate. All I can say is, in the relationship, I'll be the anchor, you the sail. Only through miscommunication can we fail. My business is your business. When I get big-headed, you let me know I'm tripping and give forgiveness. I'd be lying if I ain't wanna wring your neck sometimes, but in the bigger pic, I be killing sunshine. Say it with me, a BB for Odie. A, yes, my lady, that's the only A. As we build being examples for the village, keeping the family peace and punishing the wicked. If I come home with blood on my hands, you already know what it is and who it was. Let's smash. Brother seeking out your compliments. You should only look at one continent. Brother seeking out your compliment. You should only look at one continent. Our goals align, homes fortified. Let's hold the line, let's hold the line. I live for you, you live for me. Ain't no mystery, ain't no mystery. So in a nutshell, I'm compelled to spell it out, yell it out to the world. My black woman, my black pearl. Many have tried, but have been denied. Access to heaven is for heavenly bodies and reserved for gods. My heart pumps blood, so love floats in my hemoglobin. I give you my life if you needed it. I will be your donor, and this is far from over. Yes, this is far from over.
Peace and welcome to the Message to the Black Fam program here on War on the Horizon. I am your host, Angela Freeman, and I am very excited today. This has been a long time in the making. I started off actually just as a War on the Horizon fan. For people who don't know, I ran across a clip on YouTube and saw Genie and thought he was just a wonderful lecturer, very talented, intelligent brother. So when they got a radio station, I started tuning in occasionally to the radio station. And the more I listened, I just started calling in. I was kind of scared at first because I'm not a big talker, believe it or not. But I called in and it was cool. He was real funny. So I started calling in more and more. And that ended up how I got the radio show. I think they just got tired of hearing me call in. So they said, well, let's put her on the radio. But after I got familiar with Genie, I started listening to some of the other shows. And that was back in the day when King Samir was on, a couple other people was on. But the person that really caught my ear was a sister named Sister Nefertari. And I didn't know anything about her. I didn't know who she was, but she had an organization called Children of Southampton. And I was like, okay, this sister is on the ball. We need to hear people like her. And I would sit there and listen to her radio station, or her radio program, and be like, I wish I could do that. I just don't like talking. I really don't have anything to say. I wish I could do that. I didn't know a couple years later she would tell Genie to put me on the air and make me talk. So definitely Sister Nefertari has been somebody that I have respected for a long time. She, has had children and just taking care of her family, all of that good stuff. So she hasn't been on air in quite a while doing her show, and she's definitely missed by people. Every time she calls in to War on the Horizon, she always has a big fan base. My husband's over there now saying he's excited to hear her back on the air as well. And I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. I actually have to blame Genie for giving me the idea to put her on the air. Because it was, I don't know, a couple months ago, both me and her had called in going off about some coonery that was going on. And he made the comment, he was like, brothers, don't ever let me have Sister Nefertari and Lady Shabazz on at the same time, because they're going to take over War on the Horizon and blah, blah, blah. Don't let it happen. It's going to be just disastrous if they get on together. So, of course, me being the person I am, saying, you know what? I need to have her on the show. She needs to come back. If I can't have her come back and do her own show, she definitely got to be a guest on my show. I need to hear her voice again, get some inspiration, get some strength from the sister. So I knew that I was going to have her on here. I didn't know what the topic was. If I had to, I was going to create a topic just to get her back on. But this just came in perfectly, talking about God's gift, because She is a very strong sister, a very well-respected sister. And she's not somebody that anybody would categorize as weak. So if we talk about being in harmony with our man, backing our man, supporting our man, there's no way that any of these crazy feminists can say, oh, well, she's weak. She's a victim of chauvinism or anything like that, because we've all heard her shows enough to know that that is not the case. Even if you want to put that label on me, which I don't know how you put that label on me, you definitely can't put it on her. And if you haven't heard her shows, go to YouTube, because I have quite a few of her programs up there as well. So I'm not going to prolong it very long. I want to go on and bring the sister on, but I did just want to give a brief history for the new listeners who don't know, may not be familiar with her, don't know what you've been missing. That this sister is a powerful sister, a strong sister. She was the person who began the Nat Turner Day celebrations, and just was doing a lot of work in Philly, Black to the Movies night, all kinds of stuff. So that is the kind of sister that we are having on today. And let me see if I have her on the line. Peace, sister, are you there?
Peace, sister. I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can. How you been?
I've been black-tastic, a beat Hodie. I can't even get it out. It's been so long. A Bibi Hodie family.
A Bibi
Hello,
Hodie.
everybody. I'm so excited tonight. Thank you for inviting me to your program.
You're welcome. I couldn't wait. I said, I'm going to get her on here for something. I don't know what it is, but we're going to have to make it happen. Yeah, Jeannie been telling a lot of stories too, so we'll probably let him off easy today, but it's good to get the other side too.
Yeah, I'm like, I should call in. I'm like, nope. Just tarnish my name all over. I said, girl, this is a great show, sister, because we were talking tonight about cooperation, because it's so funny. That's a really quick story. I got in trouble for this show tonight because I did not tell Jeannie that I was going to be on this show tonight. And so when you announced it last night, he was like, afterwards, he was like, why are you telling me you're going to be on this show after that? And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I forgot what she asked me. It was a while ago, and with these babies, I forget things. I put it in my phone as a reminder, but I totally forgot, to talk to him about it and just run about. So we were putting on. I have to work on my cooperation as well.
Don't we all? And that's what I tell everybody, because they read the book and then act like I'm the guru or something. No, we all are learning and trying to do better and get things right. Anybody that's raised here in America has not, for the most part, gotten training on relationships, male or female. So we're really just trying to work our way through it and make it a success and have as much peace as possible. But, we all have some work to do.
That's right.
Now, I do want to say today, of course, the topic is going to be God's gift. We're going to be talking about chapter 3 and 4, which dealt with cooperation, communication and cooperation. And this is an important topic because even though men always say that women are emotional and we're sensitive, men be caught up in their feelings a lot. Like, their ego is so easily shattered, it is ridiculous. So we really have to be careful with that. Definitely. So, yeah, and it's funny, and I'm glad that I have you on the program as well, because I have enough of a challenge with my husband, but he's pretty laid back. He ignored me most of the time, so he just like, whatever. You have a very, very, how would I categorize him? Because he's probably going to listen to this, so let me pick my words carefully. He's very strong, very aggressive, probably not going to ignore you as much. So I think that you might have challenges, maybe a little bit more than somebody who has somebody who will just ignore things and let things go. So I think it's good to have both of us on there because they're two totally different personality types. And so we probably go through some of the same things, but it might be a little bit different. I think you have your hands really full.
Yes, indeed. I would pretty much describe the irritated genie. He's extreme. He doesn't think he is, but he is extremely the alpha of the most alpha male.
Right.
And I joke with him all the time. I say, he doesn't have any sensitivity. Like, remember that song we were growing up? What was it, by Ralph Tresvant?
Right.
You know, ain't mad with sensitivity. This ain't the one. He is ultra aggressive, ultra alpha male. So, you know, it's hard to be, as a woman, it's difficult because we're very sensitive. We have a lot of emotional things we go through, and he doesn't really understand that at all. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I have to remember that a lot. You know, he's a good brother. Don't get me wrong. He's a good brother, strong brother. But it's really funny because I always play with him and I say, you totally don't have any sensitivity whatsoever. Like you are 100%. Can't nobody mistake me for no faggy. I mean, it's just, you completely alpha male. So it definitely can be a challenge at times with working with that type of personality in terms of, you know, being a female and being emotional and having to work on my emotions and working with somebody who was like, I'm not going to be catering to all your emotional girly feelings. Literally, that's what Gina was saying to me. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, you know, it's definitely interesting balance between both of our personality types.
I can see that. Because sometimes he'll call me mean, and I'm like, what? What? You're calling me mean? Have you listened to your radio program? So I definitely get that. Now, what would you say, because I get this a lot, I don't know if you get it a lot as well, women who think that women who try to be cooperative and try to not be so aggressive with their men, that we're weak, that we're being dominated, the way we live is like European. Do you hear that a lot, and what's your response to that?
I do, and my response is normally that's why we're not going to be successful in terms of black women and having mates. And the majority of the time, a lot of sisters who say that are not in relationships. Mm-hmm. So that's the interesting point. It's like, why should I be listening to what you're saying when you don't have mates? You know, so I very casually have been giving a lot of sisters, my friends and family, your book. And, you know, just, hey, take a read of this when you get a chance, you know, and hoping that they'll be able to read what you're saying and see themselves and understand that they have to make a change. Because what happens is, you know, unfortunately, we live in a racist society, and the boob tube, television, all types of media, from radio to print media, everything has told us that to be that way is to be weak, to be, like you said, dominated. You know, it's completely just unworthy of being. You're not a real woman if you're that way. And so, unfortunately, we've been brainwashed. So when sisters say that, I say, you know, you've been programmed very well. So right. The program is working perfectly. So much so that you're saying these words to me when you yourself are not in a relationship. So you're telling me that I'm in a relationship, it's working, I have a mate, you're not in a relationship, but you can tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. So it's a really psychopathic kind of a rationale, or, you know, that they're trying to feed to me. But at the same time, a lot of times also what I'll say to them, initially in fact, is I understand where you come from because I used to be there. Right. You know, I used to have that same mentality. So it took a lot of introspection, and it's still introspection. I'm not, like you said just a while ago, I'm not perfect either, by far. I'm still working on a lot of things. I'm sure you hear the story that Jeannie tells on his show. I'm still working on a lot of things, and they're true stories. Myself, as a result, I say, hey, this is a lifetime process to change yourself. But it's extremely important if we want to be in relationships and have successful relationships. Because we have sisters who are in relationships, but they're not successful. Right. And so, you know, that's pretty much what I tend to tell sisters when I hear that, those type of remarks.
Now, how do you think that our communities would be different if we did step back and just allow them to take the leadership role without any conflict from us? Do you think that Black men are ready to be leaders and to be given that kind of respect?
Actually, I do think so. So, for the most part, I'm saying yes. I mean, the reason I say that is because I can tell a quick story that's somewhat on topic. When I was driving one day, I think I was going to one of the children's doctor's appointment or something like that. So I'm just driving in the car in D.C. and I'm stopped at a red light, and I see a lot of road work going on. And what I noticed was that all the contractors, probably at least 90-95% of the men who were working on this road project were Black. And I noticed how they were walking around. They were all working. They weren't, sitting around smoking cigarettes or just playing around or being lazy. They were all engaged in work, and they had a certain pride about them. I mean, they had their chests all the way out when they were walking. Like it was very, very noticeable to me because it's not something you see all the time. Mm-hmm. And what I remember coming home and telling Jeannie was, I said, I've never seen this before. I said, normally in other parts of the country, when you go to see road work, it's a bunch of crackers. And this was, when I'm out here, I see a lot of Black men who have jobs. And it's a complete difference in their attitude when they have employment because they're able to go home and take care of their family. So they completely are just this different person visually. Now, I said to say that if we were to give, as women, to give our men more respect, allow them to lead in a relationship, I think that we would see a similar type of change in our brothers' attitudes in terms of self-pride. They would walk more with their chest out. They would take that responsibility more seriously and that respect more seriously. So I think that if we gave them the opportunity, they would definitely stand up to that level of respect. For the most part, I'm not saying that, everybody would just, of course you're going to have some bad apples, but I mean, overall, I think that we would see a change. I noticed that with brothers who are, like I said, just employed. Or even when you see a brother who's in a relationship with a woman who is giving him that respect, like your husband, for example, when I see your relationship, Brother David is a strong brother. He's really cool, he's down to earth, and he just seems overall happy. It just kind of vibrates from him. You know what I mean? It's like he has that aura, if you will, with him, and that means that something's going on in that relationship to cause that relationship to be successful. Whereas when you see a sister or a brother in a relationship where he's not getting that respect, his whole spirit is kind of sunken in. It's kind of almost like a dark cloud, you know what I mean? If you were a rain cloud, just following him, you know what I mean? And he kind of looks that way. You can see it in his spirit and how he moves. So I definitely think that brothers would be able to handle that if we were to turn that over to them.
I think so, and that is so true. That's one of the things. I love it, but I can't stand it at the same time. I will be so mad. I will be fuming, and he'll just come in the room just happy, smiling. He don't care. It's crazy. It's like, be mad with me. No, he ain't going to be mad with me. He's just going to smile through it. Get on my nerves.
Exactly.
So let's talk about some of the mistakes that Black women make in dealing with our men, because I know we make a lot of them. We have been made so aggressive. It's like we don't look at our mate as a partner. We look at them like the opponent. Like, this is going to be a 12-round fight, and get ready, put your gloves on. What do you think are some of the mistakes that we make when dealing with our men?
Wow.
I know there's so many.
Yeah, it's like, where do you start? I'm just going to start with one that's just fresh on my mind. And it's when we're talking about, even when we're not in a relationship with Black men, we have to give them a certain level of respect. So I think that we want to make sure that we don't limit it just to our mate that we're in that relationship with, but to other Black men, our brothers, even men who we may have been in past relationships with, who we may have children with. And so I tell this story. I have a brother, and he has a nice little bit of children. But he takes care of them children from the day they were born. They've never gone without. They've always had health insurance. Their child support, their mothers have never had to worry about payment coming in. But even though he does this, he works 6 days a week to make sure that they're all taken care of. The women who he's been in these past relationships with will continue to kind of talk to their children and talk to him, or tell their children that he's not a good father. If you need money, you should ask your father, even though they're getting thousands of dollars a month in child support supposed to go to child. Right. So as a result, the children, the oldest one is 20 years old, in college now, and she continues to come to my brother for money and really make him feel bad that he doesn't have extra money to give to her. Even though he's like, no, look, I give your mom this money. I have nothing. I have a wife now. I have other children. I got to take care of them as well, and I give a substantial amount to your mother to take care of you. They don't have a clue. Even I have to try to sit down with these children and explain to them the situation. They don't have a clue because their mother has so brainwashed them by talking down about their father that they don't understand what he has done for them in their life. And a lot of children don't have this. So much so that it's kind of like, he's just my father. He's supposed to do it. So that's a huge mistake that we make. We poison the children of these brothers against the father. And it's so painful. You know what I mean? It's to see my brother, the pain he's in his eyes when he thinks about his children, he talks about his children, what he's going through. It angers me so bad. Because I see the impact it's having on us. That's one mistake in terms of child support and not allowing these brothers to see their children. Just the crazy stuff. But then even inside of relationships, how when you talk about that a lot in your book, about how we're talking to our children in front of our mate. Another story. I have a cousin who is married. She's married, and they have her and husband have a daughter. The daughter is probably about 12 years old now. And I went to visit them the other week, and we're in the house, and her husband, he had went out to the bed. They cooked all this food. Matter of fact, he cooked the majority of the food that when the children were coming to visit. And he had went out into the backyard to check on the food on the grill. She says to me, I'm just going to call him Hakeem. I'll make up a name. Change the names and characters, for to save the people. But anyway, Hakeem, he's just so soft. He's really soft, and he's really weak. And as she's saying this, literally, it's just the brother is coming in, into the house from the back of the house. And he came in, on the tail end of her saying this. And she knew he heard her because she kind of, her eyes got big and she was caught. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Then she could actually say her husband is soft and weak. And I wanted to cry for the brother. I was so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. But his whole spirit, again, changed. And I was like, wow, she talks about him like this. And also, the daughter was in the room with us, the 12-year-old, so she's hearing this. So I'm like, how are you in a relationship with someone who you're telling him he's weak and he's soft? You're killing his spirit. You're killing his manhood. And so that's a huge problem. So it goes to the level of aggression that we have as black women. We have the ability to actually destroy our black men, even when we're in relationships with them. So that we were talking about what he's not doing and what he does, but at the same time we're tearing him down. I'm hoping this is making sense. So we're tearing them down. We're breaking his spirit, literally. And in a sense, what we've done is we've kind of become, we're all familiar with that William Lynch letter. We become the cracker, in a sense, where the cracker was breaking brothers. You know what I mean? He was actually whipping them and doing things to them to break their spirit, to break their manhood. We've taken on that responsibility, if you will, now, and we're doing that to our men. So that's a huge mistake as well that I see in relationships. It's how we talk to our men and how we treat our men. And it's something that we really have to begin to work on as black women if we want to have successful relationships. We've got to begin. I love how you said book, you were talking about, I'm just turning to the page here, just giving them encouraging words, to uplift them, let them know that they're important, that they're wanted, that that you are proud of them. It really makes a huge difference in terms of their self-esteem. And so, that's something that we have to work on. We're not used to doing that. Nobody has told us to do it. We haven't seen anybody do it. All we've seen is, I think about the Jeffersons. We saw Florence still constantly going at George Jefferson. We grew up on this stuff, just constantly seeing that back and forth fighting, that we begin to think that that's what you're supposed to do. And so we don't encourage our black men, but we belittle them. And it's so funny when I think about that particular show, I'm thinking of, what was her name? Helen, who was married to the cracker. While Florence is berating George, Helen's over there giving the cracker all types of encouraging, soft words and loving him, and you know what I mean? So we've been programmed to behave this way, but we have got to make a change.
That's definitely true. And it's funny that you bring up a story about somebody saying how weak their husband is, because I don't know about that particular situation. It might not have been the case. But a lot of times when we're saying that, it's because the husband is actually treating us well and not like beating on us and choking us and calling us out our names and throwing us down staircases. Sometimes it sees like the nicer a brother is, we like, oh, he's weak. No, he's actually treating you like a human being.
As a matter of fact, that reminds me of another quick story. That is the situation. This brother's not doing any of that. I mean, he's just a really, really good brother. When I talk to him, I feel so bad because he's such a good brother. But when I was younger, true story, when I was 16, my first boyfriend ever, real boyfriend that I had, came home and met mom and everybody. He was a good brother, I mean, spoiled me rotten, sister. Gave me more, presents and gifts and took me to school. She was only 2 years older than me. Took me school shopping and everything. And I thought this brother was weak. I thought he was soft. He wasn't, the old rah-rah brother, the brother that was the loudest brother in the room. He wasn't that type of guy. But he was a good brother and treated me very, very well. I will never forget, this is around the time, you remember that song by MC Lyte, Gotta Get a Roughneck?
Yes, I know all the words.
Know the word by heart. That song came out, changed my world forever. I said, I gotta get a roughneck. And I wanted that type of brother. And I broke up with the good brother and went out looking for roughnecks. And those brothers treated me so horribly. But that was I'll never forget, everything changed. Essence, if you remember back then, even Essence, sorry. That's the One Horizon phone. Apologize. That let me silent. Sorry, family. Went out there and even Essence magazine, if you remember, started to change. I will never forget seeing that on the cover as a young girl. Gotta get a roughneck, and good girls want bad boys, and all this stuff. So all the while, we're just being constantly this negative image is being reinforced. That's what we need, and that's what we should be going after. And so we do that. And for years I did that. I mean, that wasn't just one guy I went after. For years, that was the kind of guy that I wanted. The guy who was not going to treat me right. And the good brother just got pushed to the side because he was soft and he was weak. And it took me a very long time before I realized that was the wrong path and that was not the way to go. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I can relate too. I mean, I tell the story of how me and David met, and I'm surprised we together now because I wasn't his type and he wasn't my type. So I was kind of planning on just keeping him in the friend zone. I like talking to him on the phone, but I'm like, you ain't Tupac. I mean, I want Tupac. And
right.
I think when I met him, I was in my mid-20s probably. I was either just turned 25 or 26. So I still had that mentality like, look, you might have on a bow tie or something, but I need some Tupac with that. You just too nice. I don't know if I can deal with this. And so I definitely feel the same way. It was when I was like, you know what? I don't have any taste in men, so let me poll some people. And I had my father give his input and other people give his input. And I said, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to go on and give it a try. Because going by what I was looking for, That marriage probably would have lasted about 6 months.
Exactly.
Now,
So it's serious.
now, since we're on the topic of disrespect, I'm going to ask you this question because you can break it down probably better than anybody. Um, we complain a lot about men calling us the B word and the H word, and that's definitely terrible. It's something they should not do, and we shouldn't do it either, and we do it too. Um, but whereas that is seen sometimes as disrespectful, sometimes we accept it, but sometimes we'll see that as kind of disrespectful. Most of us have no problem calling our man the N word. It don't matter if it's in front of children, parents. That's just like an acceptable term now. Can you explain to people how disrespectful that is and why we shouldn't do that?
Wow. It's interesting because I wasn't raised on the N-word in my family. If you said the N-word, it was like a cuss word. It was a bad word, And so it wasn't until I got, again, into my late teens, and I started hearing it a lot in hip-hop, and somewhere along the line, I started saying it too. I think it was during the Biggie age, the Biggie era. I started saying the word too, And what we don't realize with that word is that it's part of the problem is as black people, we become addicted to it. We don't want to let this word go. It is a part of us. We try to make up all kind of rationale. That's not what I mean. That's not how I say it. That's not the root of all kind of just nonsense. But the reality is, we've kind of made that word. I kind of say we made it our God. It's. We would rather say that word. We would rather give up Christianity and any other religion rather than stop saying the N-word. We would rather stop drinking and smoking than stop using the N-word. That's the toughest word to release from our vocabulary. In terms of your question, what it does to our black men when we use it, we're using it in a negative. First of all, it's always used in a negative manner. But particularly when black women say it to black men, normally they say it when there's an argument. And word, you ain't ish, it's almost like it is a verbal assault. And again, we're destroying their manhood. It has been shown that using terms like that, I have a Dr. Farouk Iman, who's here in Philadelphia. He showed us a study in one of his presentations where he showed that the use of negative words actually change the molecular form of the cells in your body. There's actually been scientific studies on this stuff. And so when you imagine you saying this to your mate, to your son, over and over and over and over and over again, you are destroying the very essence of their manhood. This is what the cracker called us. And again, we have, as black women, literally taken on this slave master mentality, so that we're acting out and doing everything that the slave master did to our black men. We're now doing it. The N-word is a destructive word. It is poisoning our community. There's nothing healthy about it whatsoever. And as a black woman, when you say that to your mate, it's like it's a very hateful thing. It's I can't even put it into words. I just can't even imagine ever saying. I've never said that to a brother, actually. Even though I've used that term, never said that to a brother. And that's to N-word. I've never done it because it kind of creeps me out. But I see people do it all the time, particularly women, and it's just it's completely unhealthy. And we've got to do better. We've got to use that word from our vocabulary as a people. But as sisters, you definitely should not be saying that to your man or your son.
Definitely. And I'll say I did use the N-word. I stopped probably a year ago because I didn't want to slip and say it on air. So I said, because I wasn't using it all the time, but occasionally I let one go. And I think the way I was raised was kind of half and half. My father would use the word when he was with his friends, so I'd hear it sometimes coming from him. I was not allowed to use the word at home, though. So it wasn't. On the other hand, though, I started listening to Eazy-E when I was in third grade. So I started hearing it. So I would use it when I was rapping. I know I was a degenerate child. I would use it when I was rapping along with Eazy-E and NWA. But I really didn't use it towards people. But I know that it was definitely a small hat plot set up to make us use it. Because then I remember sometime in the 90s, a sister came out called Adina Howard. And she, yeah, I mean, she was actually a talented singer, but her music was purposely made degenerate. And she's educated. She's not one of these low class people, but they portrayed her in that image. And I remember one of the songs on her tape was "You Can Be My N-Word." You can be my N-word, I can be your girl. And so somehow the climate seemed to change, and I know that may have had something to do with it. Comedians are always have something to do with the way our culture goes, but it became acceptable to say that towards people, and then you started hearing this, oh, it's a term of endearment, and this is how we show love to each other and all that. But there's no way to use that towards somebody without it being self-hatred, because even if, even when people say, well, you know how black people are, well, you're black. So, I mean, are you one of them? You're different. I mean, what black? And it's like you said, it's always negative. Even when you disguise it as positive, it's still negative.
It's still negative. And honestly, unless you come in contact with warm harassment or an irritated genie, or even positive kinetic vision, you're not going to know that it's a bad word. You're not going to know, unless, like you just said, you've been raised to not use the word. But even then, if you're in this particular climate, you know what I mean? If you're in this decade, you have made a transition already. You have been so trained that the word is okay to use that it's very hard to stand up and say that I'm not going to use this word. Even when you said about the B word, for example, it's amazing how many women talk to each other. I was at a cousin's house. And I don't know if you remember, there was a comedian. She's still out now. Her name is Moore. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget, being from Jersey. When I was younger, she was like, really cool for us because she's from Jersey. She's this very, very famous comedian. And, she was like, I thought she was one of the funniest black female comedians out there. I was at a cousin's house not long ago, and they were playing some more. And she kept using the B word, and we're all kind of cuss words. But she was using the B word and saying how she called her sister that, and sister said back to her. It wasn't like she was specifically talking about the B word. She was talking about the conversation they were having. And they were calling each other the B word. And I'm like, what the? I actually used to think this was entertaining. I thought this was something to laugh at. And now I'm like, wow, I was all engrossed in this. But it wasn't until I met the irritated genie and started following his work that I realized how that it wasn't a good word. They used to have an N-word campaign. They had a T-shirt that said it had an N-word, I am not, and it had the N-word and had like a X going through it. And I used to wear the shirt and be all proud. And it wasn't until then that it started clicking in my mind. I wasn't raised to use this word. My grandparents, this was not acceptable. Where did I go wrong? And I had to kind of trace my roots back to see that it was the hip hop, like you just said, it was the hip hop that influenced me to start using it. Just like it was hip hop that influenced me, getting it's a true story, to smoke weed. Just in slightly off topic, but I never thought of doing drugs since I got to college and everybody else was doing it, hip hop was doing it. I said, okay, I'll do it too. We're like sheep. So we follow whatever the masses are doing, if you will. If we make this turn and we stop using the N-word, we stop respecting our brothers, the masses will turn that way too. But we've got to make the decision to do it as a black family.
Exactly. And I'm going to go to, as far as talking about communication. I did mention in the book, part of the communication piece could be silence. And a lot of women don't realize that there is power in silence. And I'm going to bring this up just because Brother Genie wanted to tell a story about you on air one time. Well, not really a story, but just saying that you learn sometimes the power in silence. Because I found what happens is if David says something, he might be playing around, he might be serious, but he says something I don't really appreciate. If I go back and get in his face and reciprocate, then I'm down on his level now. I really can't fault him. I really can't be like, you shouldn't have said blah, blah, blah because I did the same thing. But if he says that and I'm just silent and maybe I walk away and go in another room and start doing something or whatever, I don't even respond to it, then he's like lowered himself. I'm kind of on a pedestal, so I can go back to him and be like, I didn't appreciate you saying so and so. I thought that was disrespectful, whatever. And there's really no argument there because I didn't give him the ammo to do that. And I found in my relationship that helps a lot, is to always be like on a pedestal or not to try to come down to anybody else's level, to try to remain kind of elevated. Why? Because he was saying on the program that at one time you would go back and forth and then you started being more silent. What made you do that? Was it just, you knew you wasn't going to win, so might as well be quiet, or was it like strategy?
It's really interesting because I always tell Genius, I think you were a ghostwriter on this book here. I was reading your book and I was like, she wrote this book. But no, we were having a lot of problems, and definitely with the communication. I would, go back and forth, and I'm not a loud female in terms of, I grew up with women who were very loud and domineering with their men, and I said I would never be that way. So I'm not a sister who's going to be loud and cussing you out, and but I am a black woman, so I'm not going to let you have the last word, even though I'll do it, in a nice tone. You know what I mean? So we would have the situation where we go back and forth, and so I realized one day I said I'm not winning, and if I really want to make this relationship work, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do to make it work. And so one of the things I decided to do, I said, if Dean says something I don't agree with, or I feel that we're going to a point where we're going to have an argument or even just a disagreement, I don't just want to be silent. I'm just not going to say anything. And I started doing it, and it was amazing. It really worked. So much so that it's a true story. Oh gosh, this was maybe a few months back. I was cooking. We have two babies, a 1-year-old and a newborn. And it was probably 3 months ago. So Kihor, our son, he was 2 months old. He was very young. And I was cooking and making sure we had dinner every night. And one night I was just tired, and I said, Gene said he was going to go out and get food he's going to get some fast food from a soul food place. So I said, could you bring us some? He said, no, I'm not bringing any food. You should go over there and cook. So I was like, oh, God. I was like, please, I'm really tired. He's like, no, I'm not bringing any food. Go on and make it. Okay, fine. So I just didn't say anything. So I went in the kitchen.
Oh, did you put the hot grits on the stove?
No, I said, I brushed it off my shoulder, because that's another thing I decided. I said, I'm not going to get upset about these things. I'm going to brush them off my shoulder, and that way, and I started doing that, and it made me feel so much better. These little things are not going to make me all upset and make the tension. I'm not going to do it. So it was so funny because I started cooking. He came upstairs, he sees me cooking, and I made food for me and the babies, and he's like, he's talking to us, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to get the food now. Okay. So he went and got the food, and he came back and had a little food to himself. And it was like maybe a few days later or a week later, I said, I was really, he offered to go and get some food from this particular place. And I said, wow, thank you. I said, no, because the other week when I wanted some, I was really hurt. You said you wouldn't get any, you didn't go get any food for us. And I was really tired that day. He's like, you know what? It's the craziest thing, Nefertari. He said, I was just joking with you. Initially, you said you wanted the food, and I said no, and I was just joking with you. But then, when you gave in and actually went in the kitchen and started making food, I was confused. I didn't know what you were doing. I didn't know if this was a joke or it was like, and she said, I'm so used to you coming at me and fighting to get what you want, or fighting with me. I I was waiting for you to fight some more, you know, to eventually get mad, but I was just waiting for you to fight. And we didn't fight. It confused me. And we had a good, we laughed so hard on this hearing. I didn't know what to do. She was like, I was confused, and I just said, okay, I didn't know what had happened. I was confused. And so it works in that he was completely taken aback by it. But there wasn't any tension that night because I let it go. Even though I was going to bring it up to him at some point and say how it made me feel. So the next time we go out here, I'll let him know. And that's why the opportunity allowed for me to bring it up to him. And we laughed about it. But, you know, I realized this thing works. It's not that big of a deal. You have to begin to say, am I really willing to, what is that saying, die on a sword, you know, throw myself on a sword for this issue? Is it that serious? You know what I mean? You know, or can I just say, I'm just going to be quiet. I don't agree with it. I'll be quiet, you know, and let it go. And then eventually you may be able to have that conversation at a later time and get your point across or express what you were trying to say or whatever. But it's not, is it really worth it to cause tension in a relationship? And I think a lot of times as Black women, we just want to be right. And so I've done this. Another story. We were talking about relationships, Dee and I. And I'm all, you know, okay, I'm a woman. So I'm all for I just love Black love. I love to see a Black man and Black woman together. I don't care what they're going through. It just makes me feel good seeing them together. Whereas Jeannie is more, if it's an unhealthy relationship, they don't need to be together. I don't care how good it is. It's just, he can see when a relationship is not going to be good, and he's just not happy. You know, like they don't need to be together. And so we were going back. I'm like, they can do it. You know, they can work it out. And he's like, Tara, you know, how many times have I told you I can see when a relationship's not going to work out, and you keep, how many times have I been wrong? No, you haven't been wrong. Well, when are you going to believe me? So I'm like, but he's going on to Jeannie. He goes into Jeannie's mode. He starts to actually break it down. You know, why is it not going to work, and why, you know, and I'm like, he literally go. I said, stop it. I said, let me just be white. Let me be a Negro. Let me be a Negro, and let me just, you know, be my nigger thinking right now, because you're going into my head and you're deprogramming me. You know what I mean? He does that, and it's the most weirdest thing because I can feel it. Like he's actually going in my head and breaking down the program. I'm like, no, the Quaker program wants to run. I just want to see races. I don't care. You know what I mean? So I walked out the room, and we laughed. I mean, he hollered. I said, because you're doing it again, you're breaking down my program. But, you know, and that's another thing. When you're having communication, a lot of times it doesn't always have to be so serious. You can joke around and bring it down a little bit to where you can still have that break that tension so that there's not a war going on. You're still getting your points across. And also, as Black women, we need to be able to identify when all I want to do is be right. I'm not listening to the logic behind what my man is saying. I just want to be right. We got to be able to differentiate that. Okay, let me put my brakes on. Let me stop. And when you can do that, when you recognize that point and you come back and you do it a 180, it'll throw your man for a loop. Let me tell you, he's like, I don't know what's going on. He's totally confused. But you'll see the difference in your relationship, and you'll see the peace that comes to your home. And it becomes addictive now. Now you want to do this stuff all the time. So you're like, wow, this works. Let me do this work. Let me do this work. You know, so you're trying to things. And so, you know, that's how it works with us. And that's how I stumbled upon the silence is golden mentality.
Definitely. And I can say, I think one of the main reasons I'm silent sometimes is because my temper is kind of explosive. Like, I'm the kind of person, I get ticked off real easy, and then I will go off, and then I'll feel better, and everything's fine. I don't hold grudges, but I do need to get it out sometimes. And that's usually the worst thing you can do, because when you're angry, you say things that you cannot take back. So I found for me, when I feel it coming on, it's best to just be quiet, and I might go get on the treadmill. Sometimes I'll go and clean the house, like scrub extra hard, something to get rid of the tension, and then I can go back later. And that's a big helpful thing that a lot of us can do that we don't do. We want to solve everything now, but sometimes if you just chill out, come back later when everybody's calm and rational, you're not going to be making sarcastic remarks and all that kind of stuff. It works a lot better. It's not always good to try to resolve something right when you're in the moment. And then another thing, it kind of ties into what you were saying as far as just wanting to be right. Black women really need to think sometimes, because we have a habit of wanting to debate facts with our opinions. And that doesn't work. You cannot debate a fact with an opinion. Even if you don't like the fact, it's a fact. And if it's just a difference of opinion, then everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So there's really no reason to fight over opinions. But a brother could have a fact like the sky is blue, and we want to be, no, it's fuchsia. You know.
It's emerald.
That's right.
Right.
Because the sun's about to set in 3 hours, and that is fuchsia pink that is going to be. I mean, just craziness. You can't always do that. And I think that that's something that really drives men crazy a lot of times, is trying to get it through our head. Like they're coming with something factual, and we just want to be like, well, I think this.
We're coming from that standpoint of emotion. That's something that Jeannie and I both had to sit down and we recognized. It was really a real turning point in our relationship, is that he's a man, so he's extremely logical. I'm a woman. I'm extremely emotional. I go with my emotions. So a lot of times when we're talking, and then we're both fire signs, it doesn't help. I'm an Aries, I'm a Ram, so I'm pig, and I'm extremely stubborn. So all this stuff mixed up together, it just makes for sometimes very volatile situations. And so one day he realized, he said, Nefertari, I'm sorry. I was like, what? He was like, you know, I'm talking to you like you're a man. Like, you're supposed to understand this stuff logically. And I don't give you room to be a woman. You're emotional. You think emotionally. You know, so, you know, a lot of times I'm saying something to you and you're not going to go with it right away. I've got to understand, back away and understand that, you know, you're in your emotional point right now. You're not necessarily going to get this. And I was like, wow, you know, I appreciate him saying that, because even I hadn't thought about that. And I said, wow, that's true. A lot of times what he's saying makes sense, but somehow, even, like I said, I began to realize when it's happening inside of myself, I'm so emotional about it that I don't want to see the truth. I don't want to see the reality of the situation. And he's trying to explain something to me, and I'm like, I don't see it, because I'm just stuck in my emotions. And just to go back to what you were saying a moment ago, you gave a very good exercise. I was looking for it in your book. I think it was on a radio program that you said it. When you're angry, I think you said you take it out on your garden. You go out to the garden and you do some gardening work and you dig in the dirt and stuff like that, and that helps to release some of the tension. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do it because I was angry. I'm trying to do a little garden in my backyard. And then I went out there and I was trying to break the ground.
Right. And
I was like, okay, I see what you're talking about. I said, if I was angry right now, this would be the best way to release anger, because that's some serious work. So just take Sister Alicia Bass's advice on that one. That's another good one. Go out there. We need to learn how to garden anyway. Put a stake in the ground. Start breaking up that. Oh my goodness, that's what I'm gonna do. That I'm waiting for us to get into a disagreement or something like that, so I can go out there and do it. But I just want to throw that out there. That was excellent advice, and I think that that's a good stress reliever too. We've got to find ways to release that anger instead of taking it out on our mate and causing the situation to be even more volatile.
That's very true. There's so many things you can do to take out stress. Like I said, I'm constantly upset at something. I'm a weird personality. I'm happy most of the time, but I do get upset on a regular basis. So I do a lot of stress relief and tension relief. You know, sometimes cooking, like if you know how to make fresh bread and you in there pounding the bread or making a cake and you're stirring the batter like you want to kill it. You know, all of that, you can do that. You can do yoga. You can get a punching bag. You can go to a shooting range. I mean, whatever you need to do to get that stress and tension out. But keeping in mind that the proper place to do that is not, you know, aiming it at your man. And that's so easy to do, is to start seeing him as an opponent. That's what we've been bred to do. That's what we're supposed to do, according to American society. And we do that way, way too much.
That's right.
Now, as far as we talked about disrespecting our men, as far as building up your man, you know, and this is important, I think, to everybody, because I know my husband is a very confident person. I know Jeannie's a very confident person. But it's still nice, I'm sure, for them to hear good things and to know that they have a woman in their corner who's there with them, who supports them. What are some ways that are good to build up men? Because some people don't have men like us that are confident. Some people, like, they need that. Like, that's the only place that they're going to get validation of their manhood. Like, it's like air. They just need it.
Yeah, I think that word number one is a starting point. Tell your mate that you're proud. On a regular basis. Don't make it so that it's mechanical. You don't want to be a robot. We're saying it all the time. But definitely make sure that you say it often. And point to something in particular that you're proud of them. That they've done. Like it may be, he's going to work every day. And, you're proud of the fact that he's getting up and going out there and having to face this racist society. At least he is trying to provide for you. And you're proud of him for going out there and doing that, even though you know the odds are against him. Or maybe he's working with the children and he's taking the children out and teaching them, just playing with them out front. I'm proud of the work that you're doing as a father. I really I'm happy that you're my mate and that you're the father of my children. Anything that you can say to encourage a black man is great. And also, if you can say those things in front of the children, oh my goodness, that's amazing because it shows them, hey, yeah, we're proud of daddy. We're proud of daddy too, and it just kind of makes them also want to be supportive, and he gets to see it grow in their face. And it's important that we use words to uplift our mate. Other things you can do that are not verbal, you could do things like surprise him with something one day. Surprise him with his favorite meal when he's not expecting it, or maybe surprise them with the outing. Maybe you got someone to watch the children. If you have children, you got someone to watch the children, and you all go out for dinner. You take them somewhere, or treat them to a nice foot rub or back rub. Little things that just make him feel good and make him feel loved. Because once he steps outside these doors, it's a hard world. I'll never forget when I was younger. I must have been about 19, I think, and I had a boyfriend. I'll never forget, we were driving in the car. It was the first time I saw racial profiling. And, we just come from the movies, and this cracker cop pulled us over for nothing. And, he wanted to see, my boyfriend at the time, he wanted to see his license, and he wanted him to get out of the car. And me, I'm like, what's that? Me, a black woman, again, not thinking. So I'm like, we didn't do this thing. What's the problem? And he's like, chill, be quiet. I'm like, no, we're doing all of this before you over. You don't have to answer his questions and everything. And I was so like, wow, they got to go through this every day. This is not like a once in a lifetime thing. They're constantly being harassed. And so when they're going outside and they're faced with that as a reality every day, when they come home, or even when they're just with you as a black woman, we got to be able to take that, make that almost feel like it doesn't exist. Create a haven for them where they can, like, wow, man, when I'm with her, everything's okay. That is extremely important for a man. He needs to feel that. And it helps him self-esteem. It makes him feel like he's wanted, he's loved, he's adored, he's admired. That's what we have to do. You know what I mean? And that's the bottom line. I mean, these cracker females do it. That's the problem. That's why a lot of times you see brothers go out here and date outside the race, because these cracker females know a secret. They know they have to make that man feel special, make him feel good, take away all that stress, and as a result, he's happy, if you will, with them. It's a sickness, sick happy, but in his mind, he's happy with it.
Exactly. That's so true. I have a couple stories to tell based on what you just said. I know one of the first books on womanhood I read was actually by a cracker. I'd read Shahrazad's book, and that was cool. It showed me the problem, but it didn't give me no solution. It was just like, basically, okay, you're messed up. whatever, good night. Didn't give me any solutions. So later on, I found a book by this cracker. And it's amazing some of the things that they do I'm just like, you guys do this? There was one speaking about complimenting men in front of children. There was a story she told in the book that said that, I believe it was either her or one of her friends, her husband would come home and he may not have made a lot, but she would take his paycheck. He would give her the paycheck when he came home, and she would take all the children, gather them around and say, look, your father has been working hard all week. And this is his paycheck. Now that he's worked hard, little Jimmy, now you can get the gym shoes that you want. Little Becky, you can get the doll that you wanted or whatever. And made a habit of doing that every week so the children would respect their father and see that their father's effort provided for them. And that blew my mind. I was like, people really do that? In contrast to that. Yeah, in contrast to that, just the basic gratitude, because we tend to take men and their role for granted, just like they're supposed to. I've heard people say, we can talk about Black women, being great and stuff all day. We hype ourselves up all day long, but we talk about a Black man doing good. I remember a sister saying, why should I congratulate a man for being a good father? He's supposed to do that. Okay, yeah, he's supposed to do that, but a lot of them don't. So you should be happy and be grateful that he's trying to do the right thing, because in this society, it's easy to do the wrong thing. Another story, in contrast to the cracker, when I first got into the Nation, so this was an MGT. She had been in a while. She had 5 children and a husband. She had some training. She should have been on point. You would think that we would have a cracker beat coming from the Nation. But I remember sitting there, I was like probably 16 years old, 17 years old. And she was like, the captain went over to her like, what's wrong? She was up there looking stank. And she's like, my husband want to take me out tonight. And she was like, well, sister, what's wrong with that? Aren't you happy that he's taking you out? He's taking me to Big Boy. I mean, what I look like? Why, I can't get nothing better than Big Boy? How you going to take me to Big Boy to eat? I don't want no hamburgers. And she was like, sister, you have 5 children. He taking care of all of y'all. He's trying to give you a break from cooking. Why don't you just, enjoy it? And she couldn't get it through her head. She was so offended that this hardworking brother was going to take her out for hamburgers instead of being like, ooh, I'm so glad I ain't got to cook today. Let's go. And the children will enjoy it and whatever. And so to contrast that to like this cracker, I'm like, we have a lot of things that we need to learn.
Definitely. Yep. Because just like you gave the example of the sister coming home, the cracker coming home and taking a paycheck and sitting around the children explaining the importance of it. I'm just sitting here thinking of Shaniqua. Matter of fact, no, you're in your book, you gave a great example in the beginning of the book how that brother came home and the sisters went at him, you ain't got no job, it's like we are the exact opposite of what other women and how other women treat their mates. And again, what we have to begin to understand is Black women, and I think once we understand this, it's a little easier to make the changes. Like I remember one time, for example, during one of Gene and I's disagreement, I said, "This is racism, white supremacy." And he said, "What?" I said, "This is racism, white supremacy." I said, racism, white supremacy we sit here having a disagreement, and racism, white supremacy is in the middle, has literally popped up a seat in the middle of us. And this is their job. This is exactly the plan. And we are carrying out the plan. I said, every time we have this agreement, I'm going to start saying, I'm going to throw up some kind of flag and say, racism, white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you remember, what was that? Was that Living Colors, or that back in the day when they had a little skit where every time a message came up, the guy would jump out and say, message?
Right.
Like, it was that type of moment. Like, we have got to understand that when we are having these disagreements and when we are having these issues in our relationship, is racism, white supremacy at its best. And particularly when we are carrying out the things that we're doing as Black women, we are working according to the plan. This is what they want us to do. So when you stop and say, dang, you got to catch yourself and say, I'm not going to let racism, white supremacy win. I'm not going to do it. And then maybe you'll take some of the sting out of what's happening, and you can maybe see things differently. That's if you understand racism and white supremacy. Like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said, if you don't understand racism and white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. And so you think that we're actually having an argument about something important when really is nothing. It's racism and white supremacy trying to destroy the relationship between the black man and black woman to basically commit genocide against black people. And it's working every single day. It's continuing to work. And we are perpetuating that system. We've got to be able to break it down within our homes.
Definitely, definitely. And we're a little past the 8 o'clock hour, so I'm going to see if any of you have any questions. If you want to dial in, the number is 760-569-7676, and the participation code is 948656#. You can go on and call in. Do you mind if we go on and take a couple callers?
Sure, no problem.
All right, let's see, because y'all be trying to listen. I see, as soon as I say I'm going to the phone line, y'all start hanging up. I ain't going to make you talk. Don't be
Don't
shy.
be tired.
That's right. Must be feeling guilty. All right. 9898, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Yes, peace, sisters. How you doing?
Peace. How are you?
Peace, Queen.
I'm doing well. This is Sister Brady from Dallas. This is such a good show, and I was just listening to the last part in which Sister Nefertari was talking about when we argue how that's white supremacy at its finest. Because we don't understand that they're trying to break down our relationships. The goal is not for us to have productive relationships with our mates. It's for us to break up. We have these children, and he going here, she going there, and we don't know how to communicate. And communication is so key, because so often, like my fiance, his aunt, she does not know how to talk to a man. Like, her husband had been married like 20-something years, and he just left her. And I'm surprised he didn't leave like before, because she would go up to his job, cuss him out in front of people, talk about him like he wasn't nothing. Like, it was crazy. And then I look at her son, who's like very effeminate. Like, I'm thinking he a homo because he's that effeminate. And he just has the roles. I see the roles that they have so mixed up. She's just overbearing, very loud, coming. I mean, something's always wrong. She's never happy. It could be you left the light on in the kitchen, and it's an argument. Why you leave my lights on? Here she go again. And he's like, took the stance, I'm just gonna be not be like that. But he's never really staying a strong man. She's just showing strength through her being loud and trying to control everything. And he got the whole ideas of male, female, black and female male relationships confused. So it's crazy, because it's like, ooh, sorry, I don't know if that was me. But
Okay.
no, it's a trip. But this was a very good show, because I was sitting here just learning, like, because I know sometimes with my relationship, I can get mad from 0 to 100, and I gotta watch what I say. And I'm still learning. Your book helps, because I gotta check myself. Like, okay, everything don't require a response. Maybe I just need to sit here and think on it, then come back later and speak on it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Has that worked for you sometimes, the silence? Because I know a lot of people are like, no, we got to get to the bottom of this right now. How's the silence working?
I'm trying to get it there. I'm unfortunately one of those people where I want to talk about now. I don't want to talk about it later. But I'm trying to, get the silence thing. And I know that she'll look at me like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to sit on this, or I'll just leave. Because I just don't want to say something, and I'll come back later and speak on it, because I don't want to, speak too quick and then say something out of anger.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it. And that is something, too, I guess, before I let you go, what is your opinion on why black women are so aggressive? We really, really are. I mean, we're aggressive towards each other, but especially towards our men. Have you suffered from that, or do you have any idea why we do that?
I've never really been that type. My mom was very, soft-spoken. So I didn't see that. But my grandmother, whoa, she is very loud. A lot of black women don't know how to talk to black men, because, when we watch this TV and these movies, and you got to be an independent woman, you got to be strong, the man's got to do this and that, we kind of take on those attitudes, not knowing really how to be submissive. Because a lot of women think, oh, if I'm not being submissive. I heard this one sister say something crazy. we was talking, and she was like, I told her I was going home to cook. You know, I got to go home and hurry up and cook, so, you know, for my fiance, whatever. She was like, you went home to cook? You just work. Yeah, but, you know, we got to eat. I ain't serving, I ain't bowing down to nobody but Jesus. I was like, wow, are you married? She was like, no. I was like, that's probably why. Jesus ain't going to marry you.
No, she is married. She one of them I'm married to Jesus types who go home and lonely every night, miserable every night because she married to Jesus.
Ooh, that was some crazy stuff. I was like, whoa, like, you on a different level. But a lot of sisters carry that attitude, and them be the same ones who single, like you said, going to church every Sunday, but, you know, ain't got a man because they don't know how to talk to nobody. They think the man's supposed to wine and dine you. It's not about, you know, this is a very materialistic world, so they just see it like if a man doesn't buy these things for me, you know, or flowers and roses and, you know, all this crazy stuff, he doesn't love me, so I'm not going to respect him.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate you calling in.
No problem. Peace, sisters.
Peace.
Peace.
That's funny because that is like the stupidest thing in the world to hear a woman complain about cooking for somebody. Like, you should be able to cook for yourself. So it should not be hard to just put one extra plate on the table. We act like that is just like getting a root canal to like put an extra plate on the table. Like, you cannot survive off your communion bread and Jesus juice, ladies. You can't. Get some food.
Don't tell them that's blasphemy. You're being blasphemous. But no, you know, and you're so right. And for me, it's like cooking. Particularly since I have family now, I enjoy it. I literally am on YouTube all the time, looking at recipes and want to try new stuff and new seeds. I enjoy it so much because I want to be able. I told you all the time, it's important for me to be able to serve a meal for my family that's good. You know what I mean? They can say, "Oh my God, this is good," you know, and if they enjoy it, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. I don't see, you know, it's hard work, and sometimes I do. Like, you know, like I gave the story earlier, I said, oh, I just want to have a break tonight because, you know, sometimes it's a lot of work. But at the same time, I love it. I love doing it. And most time we eat out, I'm like, oh, I would rather have been at home and made something because I want to see how, you know, how this comes out, this turns out. So I can't imagine, but I do understand where that comes from because, like the sister alluded to, it's that independent black woman syndrome where, I don't know a whole lot of sisters who know how to cook. I think I know like one or two now, but I know you. two. But most of the sisters I know in my family, and even, it's weird because our grandmother, the matriarch of our family, she cooks all the time, 3 meals a day. I'm like, how did we not pick up on that? Like, we totally turned our eyes to what she was doing to make a happy home for my grandfather. And somewhere in our minds, we went with what the media was more powerful for us. That whole women's lib movement, you know, all that mess, it's completely destroyed our sense of what it means to be a black woman. And so, you know, I remember, for example, when I was growing up, telling my mom, I was never going to cook and clean for a man. And she was like, well, you're not going to have a man. And I said, yes, I am. I'm going to have me a maid and a butler and a chauffeur. And she said, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that stuff. You know, I was little. I must have been like 10, you know, but just the media got me thinking that, you know, because it wasn't that I didn't see that going on. It just made me not want to do it. So.
Exactly. And, you know, some of that is our fault. Some of it is our parents' fault, though, because I know a lot of parents who never brought their children into the kitchen. Like, that's part of your job as a parent is to teach your children life skills. And that's something we're failing at. We're not teaching them how to cook. We're not teaching them, first and foremost, who their enemy is. It's hard to get a parent to say, white people are your enemies. I know it broke my heart one day because I came on right after she said it, and I really didn't even know what to say. On Jeannie's show, some mother had their son lynched, and she said, you know, I failed my son because I didn't let him know who his enemy was. You know, and it was just like, wow, you know, so I was forced to learn how to cook because I didn't like the food being served in my house. And so me being the person I am, I'm like, look, I'm not settling for this. I got to do better. So that's how I got cooking. I was like, all this kind of weird stuff y'all making around here. Okay, let me go find some stuff. I want some greens and some chicken. So.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So
and before you go to the next call, I want to say this one thing too, because the sister reminded me is that your book, sister, I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's interesting because maybe you can tell us. I always time I was thinking the title God's Gift is referring to the black man is God's gift to the black woman. But when she was talking just now, I realized it hit me. It's also this book is like God's gift to black women. Like, and I mean that seriously. In terms of, it's not a book that you just read and you go through and say, oh, I read the book and just throw it on the shelf. It's a reference book. Literally, you can go back and say, let me go back to chapter on cooperation. What can I do differently? Or let me look for a new recipe. Oh, here's a recipe. Let me try this out. You can actually go back and refer to your book time and time and time again. So that it should, at some point, I got to get another copy because I didn't wore it out. You should be at that point. And I just want to thank you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, because this book has helped me personally, in so many ways. It's helped me rethink my relationships. It's helped me rethink my role as a black woman. And it really has helped me to take my consciousness to another level. Because I thought I was just conscious and knew everything. Let's say you can never stop learning. And this book has taught me that. And I just want to thank you again for providing us as black women with this material.
Thank you so much. And you know what? It's true because I every now and then go back and read something myself when I need to calm down. I'm like, okay, wait, read. Because I remember one time, I forget what had happened. We were just joking around and my husband was like, you need to go read your book page so-and-so, chapter so-and-so. And he said it as a joke, and I was like, see, that's why I don't let you read nothing, because you're going to come back and throw it in my face. But it is true. Occasionally, I might go back and say, okay, I said that. That is something I said we shouldn't say. Let me go clean it up. And I'm glad that other people get that from it, too, because sometimes you just need a little reminder when you're in the heat of the moment. You're in the heat of the moment. Sometimes you need something to bring you down a couple notches.
That's right.
So thank you for that. Let's see. 8672, you're live on War on the Horizon. 8672? All right, I will assume that you are just listening in. 9073, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Oh, Hotep Sisters, just listening.
Hotep.
That's very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate that. All right, 1163, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Hello?
1163.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Say something. I was really just listening, but I just got invited to this call by a brother over Facebook, and it's funny. I must have had supposed to be on this call because, like, I'm newly married, and I've really been trying to find ways to work on my marriage and build on it, because I feel like me and both my husband didn't get the best example. And so I'm just listening to you guys and, like, listening and making sense, you feel me? Because, my mother, from watching her with my father, they were married for 20 years, but it ended up in divorce. And just thinking back on it, she was like, I can't say that the reasons for her anger were not justified, but she didn't handle it, just looking hindsight, how it should have probably been handled, because I've seen a lot of anger and yelling, and so I know that goes into how I deal with it, but I really just want to I'm glad I'm on this call because I just want to find ways that can help me deal better as a woman and be more into cooperation, because I really do feel like it's some outside force that don't want us to work, and that's really angering. And so it makes me want to fight that much more. But I just thank y'all for having this call, and I just want to keep listening because I am soaking it in.
Well, thank you so much for calling. And we have we're going to be doing a program every week, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time, so I'm guessing that's around 4 o'clock Pacific time, every Tuesday. And there's also other great programs on the station, so be sure to listen in from time to time and call us back.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Peace, ladies.
Peace.
Peace, sis. That's real. That's real. And that's the word. That's why it's important. See, and so that sister, that's exactly what it is. Keep that in mind. Every time you have that difficulty in a relationship, you just stop for a second and just remember somebody has a greater plan at hand. They want this relationship not to work, particularly as a newlywed. You know, you're going to have a trying time, you know, because it's the early stages of the relationship. But if you keep that in the back of your mind, it will allow you to see to see your way out of whatever you're going through. And then go back to the book. If you haven't purchased this, this is the first time on the show, go to waterhorizon.com, or you can contact Sister Beth online and purchase this book, God's Gift, How to Be a Good Black Woman to a Strong Black Man. Get yourself a copy today. If you're listening, you know, you can go again to waterhorizon.com and go into the store and purchase it under books. But I highly recommend it. It's going to help. It's not going to help save your relationship. It will save your relationship. It will ensure that you'll be calling us 20 years from now talking about how you and your husband are celebrating your 20th anniversary and you're happily married. So definitely, sis.
And thank you.
Make sure you do that.
One of the things about God's gift, and one of the reasons I wanted to write it too, you know, we say sometimes it feels like there's an outside force trying to keep us apart. And there definitely is. We've definitely been brainwashed. And integration has hurt a lot because we've started to see ourselves through white eyes. And one thing when we're talking about femininity and things like that, even being submissive, that's like a 4-letter word. That's like saying the F word, saying submissive. You know, we have to remember that Black people are not the same as white people. We have different values. So whereas in white culture, it's a very predatory, victimizing culture. So yes, if you're trying to quote unquote be feminine in white ways, it's going to be dumbing yourself down. It's going to be not able to stand up for yourself, not able to handle your life, things like that. Okay, yeah, for a white woman, that would be femininity. But that doesn't mean that that's what femininity is. Black women have always been very feminine, and that's where our strength is. That's how we were able to keep our families together. That's how we were able to lead in certain situations. That's what made us strong. We made sure that we were very strong but very feminine. We knew our roles and we weren't trying to compete with other people. So I do want to stress that to anybody maybe listening for the first time, or anybody who hasn't read the book, who may be like, well, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. It doesn't make you weak. That's where your strength is. If you're cooking, that means your family is not going out getting McDonald's, getting cancer, getting diabetes, having heart attacks, things like that. There's strength in keeping your family healthy. There's strength in cooperating with your man, because you can't progress if you're not cooperating. If you are constantly, every time he says, I want to go left, you pull him right, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's where our strength is in cooperation and not being ashamed to be women, strong Black women that are also very feminine. So just don't get that twisted, because that's something that I've heard before. And not definitely this sister didn't say it, but it just because she's a first time caller, I want to emphasize that femininity is not a weak thing. We're not white women. We don't operate the same way. We can be very feminine and run a company, run our home, help our man out, help the neighbor down the street out. We pretty much can do it all, and that doesn't take away from it at all.
Not at all. And also, in the sister's book, in the chapter on cooperation, she talks about letting the man lead. And, you know, again, we've been trained that we have to be independent, strong. And it's a good thing that we're strong. We got a lot of things we have to face, as well as Black women. But we've been told we have to be independent and we have to be strong. And so that's been translated even into our relationship. And what happens is, I know with me, I had to realize that I thought I was giving all of the power to my mate. I thought I was doing that. And one day I realized, no, you're not. You're still holding on to a whole piece. And it's very difficult. It was difficult for me to let it go and give him absolute power. And I realized the reason it was difficult was because for 30 plus years of my life, The cracker has made me be independent. I paid my own bills. I've had to protect myself. I've had to, just make all the decisions on my own. So what happens is you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable to a certain extent. When you give that power, I'm going to let this person take charge. It's kind of like driving. You're driving your own car. You know the car. You know how it feels. You know how to maneuver it, et cetera, et cetera. But if you get in that passenger seat, sometimes you feel a little awkward because you're like, oh, the other person's driving my car, and I wouldn't drive it this hard. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. But you kind of have to let them drive. You're in the passenger seat. You can't just reach over and take the wheel. You're going to crash. So if you let your man take over and give him power to be the head in your life, oh my goodness, let's say it's a stress reliever, because all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I don't have to make all the decisions. I can allow him to make the decision, and it takes a huge burden off your back. So it's also a benefit to us as Black women to be submissive, if you will, want to use that. I say it's almost, I don't know if we use the word submissive. I don't know that's the word you're using, because I think submissive has gotten such a bad rap. It's really a good thing. It's a good, you know what I mean? It's like a positive. It makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I don't have to do this by myself. Somebody's here to help me. I can, and he's going to make mistakes. It's because that's nothing. Just because you're giving him that power doesn't mean that, okay, everything will be perfect. He's going to make mistakes just like we make mistakes. But you're allowing him to be the man. Again, that goes back to what we were talking about during the first hour. It's going to build his self-esteem. He's going to feel more in control. And then, if something goes wrong, you can work it out together. But at least you've given him the authority to be the lead in the family. Let me say something. If you just try it, maybe for a week or so. You know what I mean? Just try it out, experiment. What's it gonna hurt? Just experiment in your own relationship. And see how it makes you feel. If you don't like it, then maybe I was wrong. But I pretty much guarantee that you're gonna feel much better.
That's true. And I'm going to be going to the next caller in just a moment, 3271. If you have a question or comment, I'm coming your way. But I do want to say that that's very true. And a lot of times, even when we think we're doing it, we're not. We'll say, okay, I'm going to let you lead, but then we want to check behind everything they do. We'll say, okay, you pay the bills, then we want to check and make sure this is paid, that's paid. The thing we got to realize is there's very few things in life that are going to be life-threatening. If he's late paying something or if he messes something up, it will work itself out. So if you're going to let him do it, because that's more emasculating if you say go on and do it and then you got to check up on him like a mother. That's something men do not like, is to be married to the mother. So if you got a grown man, hopefully your sense was good enough that you pick somebody who's capable and intelligent and ain't gonna let y'all completely just crash. So put a little bit of trust in him. And a lot of times, because of the way that the media has got into our minds, we expect the worst from our men. I think deep down, a lot of us really feel like Black men are incompetent and incapable. And so that's how we see them. We see them very negatively instead of like focusing on the positive, because you can have somebody the same brother, and you can focus on his faults. He's always late. He doesn't speak proper English, blah, 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 blah. And he'll look like the scum of the earth. But the same brother, if you focus on he's warm, he's got a good heart, he's a good father, he'll be like your Prince Charming, quote unquote. So it really, how you perceive things really defines how it's going to be in your life. The same man could be the best thing in the world or the scum of the earth, depending on how you see it. And also we project that onto them because they look to us for some kind of acceptance, because they feel more manly when they know that they can make their woman happy. When they can't make their woman happy, they tend to feel like a failure. A lot of men do. So if you're constantly projecting, you can't do anything right, you're just a no good N-word, blah, 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 you're a terrible father, then some of that is going to affect him. I mean, that's hard to block all of that out. So don't let your negative opinions and your mind filled with racism affect your relationship. Fight that and try to look for the positive.
That's right. Don't be a cracker.
That's right. We better crack us in the cracker. All right, let's see here. Okay, 3271, you're live on War on the Horizon. 3271.
Yes. Can I be heard?
You can be heard, but you know what? There's a little static coming through on the line. So what I'm gonna do is call right back in. So I'm gonna mute you and just give me 1 second, okay? All right. Let me go on and clear this line so everybody can be heard. Bear with us just a moment.
Access code accepted. This conference is being recorded.
Okay, hopefully that'll be a little bit better. It seems like when we have the good shows, all of a sudden it start getting staticky and all this other stuff. So, let's see. 3271, we're back in business. You there?
All right, sister, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to first, give my blessings and honors to you guys, sis. Speaking the truth into light, dealing with relationships and familyhood. Also, I wanted to mention to bring some information up to speed. My name is Brother Batai, Path One. I have a revolutionary radio program on Blog Talk Radio. I'm based out of Philadelphia. To contact my website for my archive shows, www.blogtalkradio.com, and you put in Brother Batai, and you should see me on Blog Talk Radio. I wanted to comment because I always listen to this program. It's inspiring. Now, when you was mentioning about people outside infiltration, negative influences breaking up the black home, I just wanted to ask you about how do you feel about the NSA, the telephone wiring that Obama recently passed. How do you feel about this NSA, national website and telephone tapping? Sister, how do you feel about that? On top of the relationship and, private surveillance. Nothing you do anymore is private. Everything is being tapped. How do you feel about that? Please comment on that, please.
Okay. You have any thoughts, Sister Nefertari?
I'm sorry?
No, Shippy, she was asking me, brother. I think that's an excellent question. My thought was, initially, I think pretty much like everybody else, I was kind of shocked. Oh, wow, look at all this that they're doing. Oh, my goodness. But then I stopped and I said, wait a minute. Why are we shocked? They've been doing this, particularly for us in the black community. Maybe it's new to the crackers. That's probably what it is. It's new to the crackers. It's a new thing for them. They're not used to being all this intrusion going on. But for us as black people, they've been tapping into what we're doing and listening. Particularly here on this station, we joke about it all the time. Some of these anonymous callers that come through, we know it's a cracker listen to the show. But what do we want to do? Do we cover in a corner somewhere and say, oh my God, we can't talk to each other because the cracker listening, he's in the wall. Oh my God. I mean, come on. We still got to keep fighting. We still got to keep up the fight, what we're trying to do. And in terms of our relationships, I mean, one of the things is, unfortunately, because of things like Facebook and these social media sites and technology as a whole today, we as black people have got to become more private. We're putting way too much of our business out there for people to know. So it's kind of like they're tapping in, listening, and reading certain things, but also we're putting too much out there. Everybody doesn't need to know what's going on in your. I mean, how many times? I'm not even on Facebook anymore. I go in there maybe once every 3 or 4 months. But every time I go out there, I see people change their relationship statuses, or like so-and-so is now single, so-and-so is now in love, so-and-so is. I mean, stop putting all your business out there. Get to know, stay in your relationship, and in terms of relationships, keep it private. Learn each other. Sisters, talk to this brother. Listen to him. Listen to what he's telling you. That's a problem I don't think we had a chance to talk about tonight. A lot of times, sisters, as black women, we hear can't really want to hear. When it comes to brothers, we don't want to hear him telling us things like, I don't want to get married, or I don't want to have children, or I don't want to be with you. You know, we don't want to hear him do that. You know, we have our own fantasy world going on. So, you know, if we keep our relationships private for a while, it gives us a chance to learn one another, listen to one another, work out the kinks and the bugs, become a stronger bond, a stronger unit, so that when we go out there before the world, nothing can break us apart because we've taken that time to make sure we were solid first. And so I think that we have to keep those things in mind and not be really, be cautious, but don't let this whole thing really swoop you out too bad, because we've been knowing this has been going on forever. It shouldn't be news to anybody. I mean, they've been doing this since J. Edgar Hoover days. You know, as a matter of fact, they've been doing it before. They were doing it on the plantation. The cracker had, people listening in, to conversations and coming back telling Master what was going on. Come on. They've been doing this forever with us. I think that we just need to be somewhat cautious about what we say, but until we've come up with our own forms of communication, which is something we really need to be thinking about. What kind of, we're geniuses as Black people. We should be coming up with alternative ways of communication so that we don't have to rely on their phones and their emails and their social media networks. We should be coming up with our own method of communication. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that brother and sister out there that's going to come up with that new technology that's going to allow us to get off the grid.
Yes, ma'am. All right, brother, did that answer your question?
Oh, yes, sister, that definitely does. And I just want to thank you, Doctor, so much for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling in. Peace.
Thank you, brother. Excellent question.
And you know what? To add on to that, too, I'm just thinking, you're not going to be perfect all the time. There's not a person listening in who is not going to have an argument with their spouse, not going to say something to them that they would not want somebody else to hear. We're human and we're doing the best we can. But I would say, knowing that, be careful how you speak to the other person. Try to give them as little to hear as possible. And know that, there's always a chance of you being heard. I remember back in the day, I believe it was on Sister Nefertari's show when she had one day, somebody called in, and usually when you call in, the line is muted, but for some reason it wasn't muted, and we heard a lot of things that were going on in the person's household that he probably would not have wanted other people to hear. But it's just a reminder to do your best. Not that you're going to be perfect, not that you're always going to be on point. When you're at home, you're relaxed, you're doing whatever. But you never know when somebody's going to overhear something or when your privacy is going to be violated in some way. So be mindful and try to treat each other in a way that you wouldn't be embarrassed if somebody overheard.
That's right. Excellent point.
All right. Let's see. 8672. You're live on War on the Horizon. 8672. All right. I will assume that you are just listening. Oh, you didn't have to hang up. I wasn't going to make you talk. I tell you what, when y'all do that, when I start coming to your line and we having one of these conversations and you hang up when I come to you, I assume you're guilty. So you need to just hang on the line and say you just listening, because otherwise I'm assuming you the guilty partner. You a home raising hell. Maybe I'm wrong, but I reserve the right to make that judgment. Oh, goodness. So, I guess one thing that we haven't talked about, just some common examples of things that we should be doing, because I've noticed Black men a lot of times tend to like me, and it's not I'm not arrogant or anything like that. It's not because of my looks or how I dress or because I got a fancy car, nothing like that. It's because I smile. It's because I look happy sometimes, because if they say hello to me, I'm not going to be like, who he think he is saying hello to me? I don't want to talk to you. We've all heard women just be really crazy with that kind of stuff. So a lot of it is our attitude and the energy that we put out. And one thing that I try to make a habit of doing is when your man comes home, try, if you can meet him at the door, or see him soon after he comes in and smile at the brother and welcome him home and let him know that it's good to see him. Just that little stuff helps.
Definitely. One of the things I've done, because, it's a lot of times with the babies, it's a little difficult to get to the door when Jeannie comes in. But I try to make sure if I can't get to the door, I make sure our daughter is at the door. Because she loves to greet her father when he comes home anyway. It's like the highlight of her day. So, if I see, let's say I'm changing our son and I can see that he just pulled up or I hear him coming through the door, I say, Daddy's here. And she runs, she'll do whatever she's doing. She'll sprint to the door. And he just loves that. It just like, it makes him melt, you know what I mean, to have that acknowledgement. And I see how much, he appreciates it, and how good it makes him feel. So that every time, if she doesn't do it on her own, I make sure that I tell her to do it. And, it's important, again, because they're faced with hell out here every day. The temptation to do the wrong thing, the pressure from the workforce, the pressure from the cracker and the police, breathing down their neck. And particularly if you have a brother who is conscious and who is out here actively fighting against this cracker, it's like 10 times as hard for him to go out every day. And so he has got to have that extra reinforcement and encouragement. So I definitely agree with it that should be done.
Definitely. And I've seen this with my own eyes. When they were in Detroit a couple weeks ago, the baby was there and irritated Jeannie was giving a lecture. And she said, look, I don't care it's in the middle of a lecture. I'm going to go say hi to my daddy. And she ran down the aisle into his arms. And it was just the cutest thing ever. But just seeing that has to do a lot for a man to have that feeling, to know, his children love him and respect him. And look, she will bogart a lecture if she got to.
That's right. She don't care. She's like, she fought me once. That's how it started. But she fought me one time. I brought him in, and she wanted to go up. And he's doing a lecture. She wants to go up to him, and I'm trying to hold her back. And she's like, that little girl, you know who I am? But she's like, look, I want to see my daddy. So he was like, if ever she does that again, let him come. It's okay. I don't mind. So I was like, okay. This is alpha male.
Right.
So he definitely has some sensitivity and some emotions. It especially when it comes to this little girl. So that it melts the brother. It's good. Again, you can create that peace where they can enjoy their children, enjoy their household. It just changes the whole dynamics of the house, of the relationship.
It really does. I'm going to try one more time to see if there's any questions. 8672, you're live on War on the Horizon. Did you have any questions, or were you just listening in? 867.
Oh, it came back on.
8672. All right, they're just listening. I'm not going to pick on them today. Let's see.
Yeah, they're like, stop bothering me.
That's right. Like, I'm just trying to listen. Stop trying to get me to talk. That's fine. Let's see. Just a couple other things, I guess, that men don't like. A lot of times we like to give hints, and we think that men pick up on hints. They do not pick up on our hints. You give it up. All the passive aggressive, wanting them to read our mind. Just say what you want.
Oh my goodness! You hit that on there. I'll be mad at. He don't know why I'm mad. I'm fuming. I'm upset. It's just you think, I'll give you little hints. You should know this, and it's amazing. We do expect them. It's the craziest thing. I don't know. I guess that's a female thing. I don't know what that is. We actually do expect them to know what we're going through, and so they're supposed to know. And so that's something he said. You have to tell me. You have to tell me these things. So I started doing it, and it works. Again, it works. Well, okay, I just tell you, and it also goes back to, I think, again, the media and this whole sense of romance and all this crap that we see on TV. We think that he's supposed to be in tune to our feelings in that way. We have to understand he's not a woman. He's a man. And men don't think like that. They completely don't operate in that manner. Now, you do have some men who may be a little bit more sensitive or understanding to a woman's needs and things like that. But maybe that could be, maybe he was in a household with a lot of females, or or maybe he was with a woman who, I have no idea. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. Somehow he figured it out. I don't know. But not every man is going to be be understanding, if you will, or be that way. It's just not the reality of the situation. And something we've got to begin to, as women say, I'm going to let this go. It's okay for me to tell him what I want. I'm going to get it. If I tell him, I'll get it. If I don't tell him, then I'm going to sit here pouting out upset because I want him reading my mind. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? We have to make that decision. And so, yeah, I mean, talk to the brothers, be open, and it works. It's simple, but it works.
It is. And I'm one of those people, like, because it don't even matter. Like, it's stuff like, you're like, how can you not know I'm angry? Like, don't you see it's so obvious? It's so blatant. And men just do not have a clue. I don't understand what that is about men, that they don't know when they doing wrong, and it's like obvious, just like apparent. But you have to say them. You have to. I cannot explain it. I don't know. I go through this myself. Like, you don't know why I'm mad? What do you mean? Why? We're good at, what's wrong? Nothing. That's the worst thing you can do, because it's not going to get resolved. I'm good for that. Nothing. And then you wonder why it's not getting fixed.
No, it's fine. No, I'm okay. No, I'm about me. Like, it really, and everything, we really, I've done that too, sister. I mean, I'll be lying to people. Nothing's wrong with me. No, I'm fine. Like, he's asking you what's wrong, and now I want to tell him, but we still want to read our mind.
Right. And then follow it up like, well, you don't care about me? You don't care? No, he tried to show you he cared.
That's right. He tried, and, we totally shut him out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I say another thing, at least with my husband, men do not like to be questioned. Even when it's something productive, like I'll write something and ask my husband, like, what do you think about this? He does not like answering questions. He'll tell me in a minute, go ask somebody, get another opinion. I cannot, any who, what, where, when, how, he is not trying to hear. A lot of men are like that. Have you experienced that?
Oh my goodness. I know we first started early in our relationship, like, we would visit each other, whatever. Jeannie might leave. If I'm going to Jeannie's house, he might go and leave. I'll be back and leave. I'm like, okay. Or no, worse actually, it was time he would just leave. I didn't tell him he was leaving. And I'm like, where did he go? I'm looking at the house like, where is he at? And so I would say, you need to tell me where you're going. And where are you going? Don't question me. And I'm like, I don't like being questioned. I'm a grown man. And I'm like, wow. Where was problem? And I didn't realize that it started hitting me. Men do not like that. It doesn't mean that, because at first, your first thought as a woman, again, being trained from the media, is that if he doesn't want to tell you what he's doing, or if he don't want you questioning him, he must be cheating on you. But then we got a whole other thing going on in our head. We're going to start a whole other soap opera drama, imaginary situation, imaginary stuff going on in our mind. So that's adding on to looking at us. Now we're snooping around, looking at phones and reading emails and, doing all this stuff, this craziness. But the reality is, he's not doing anything. He just, like you say, it's just his nature. You're not his mother. He doesn't want you to, that's something a mother does to a child. Where are you going? Who are you going to be with? What time you do that? So, once and here's another thing, another magic trick, sisters. Once I stop asking questions, it's funny. He'll start offering stuff on his own. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why I'll be back. I'm going here. I'll be back in a little bit. I'm going to do this. I'm like, I need to ask him those questions. But because I'm not on his back nagging him to give me information, it actually allows him to be more free. And again, you mentioned that in your book. That's why, again, I think that, I swear, it irritated you as ghostwriter. I'm going to find out one day. But it actually does allow him to be more free and more open to share information with us. And so, if we just kind of back off a little bit and let him be a man. That's something that we don't do. We don't allow our men to be men. And what do you mean? He is a man. Just let him be. Let him like you said, be the authority in the home. Let him lead the family. Okay, let him, if he needs to go out and be with his friends, let him go out and be with the guy. Give him some trust until, I'm not saying that, no man out there is ever going to abuse that trust. That may happen, but don't hold that negative experience you had with that particular brother to affect another relationship that you're in. Because this guy did this to me, did that to me. Okay, every guy is different. Every man is different. And you have to allow that individual to show and prove to you who they are. Just allowing them to be men, it does wonders for your relationship. And I think that's something that we also have to begin to recognize as Black women, when we need to let our men be men.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell, I guess, just one final story because it's so fitting. And I do want to say, actually, before I tell that story, as far as doing all this checking up on people and whatnot, don't waste your time. My father told me when I was young, and it was in reference to something else. I remember I was going over somebody's house to get my hair done, and their house was kind of dirty. And I was like, you think they got bugs? And he was like, look, don't go looking for nothing you don't want to find. So it was totally unrelated. But I still used it. It was good advice. Don't go looking for something you don't want to find. It will come out. Now, if you're one of those people who, if you find out he's cheating, you're going to leave, then okay, do whatever. But if you got to look, then if you got a feeling like that, then he probably already is, or the relationship probably got some kind of issue anyway. But if you know that you're going to stay anyway, don't go looking for something just to make some drama in your relationship. It'll come out if it's meant to be. But there was a story that a brother told me earlier this year. He said his partner had gone out of the country on a trip, or she was going. And she was kind of a little bothered by him because she's like, look, I'm about to go to another country. You haven't asked me what hotel I'm staying in, where my flight's going. You haven't asked me any questions about this, like what's going on. And from his male perspective, he's like, I didn't do that because I don't like being questioned. I figured you would just tell me what I needed to know or whatever, but I don't like being questioned. Whereas with her, she took that as, oh, you don't care about me because you're not worried about where I'm going to be at and all this kind of stuff. So that just shows the difference in how men think about it and women think about it. When you're questioning your man, maybe because you're just worried about him or for whatever, it could be a good reason. It doesn't even have to be because you think he's cheating, but he takes that as a violation of his manhood almost. Whereas it's opposite. We may want them to question us because it makes us feel secure. So it's not always a bad thing. It's just that we're different.
You hit it right on there because I did the same thing with him. He wouldn't ask me those questions. Where you going? Where you going? And I was like, I'm thinking, he don't even care, and I told him one day, he's like, oh, he's like, I trust you. I trust that you're not, and we take that totally for granted. I trust you that, when you go out, you're doing whatever you need to do. I don't think you're doing anything that I need to be concerned about. But I did express to him again the difference between male and methods. For me, it's not that I think that you're thinking I'm doing something wrong or something like that. I said it's the security thing. Women, we need to feel that you want to know what I'm doing because it's a security. It's a kind of security issue with us. And when he understood that, he said, oh, I never thought about that. And so he started doing it. He started asking, he said, I'll ask you to make you feel better. So he started asking me to make you feel better. I got what, again, told him what I wanted, got what I wanted, and it is action. You know what I'm saying? I'm not no longer waiting to read my mind. Ask me what I'm going, So, these things really do work.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we're getting towards the end of the show. We have the Cypher program coming up next. Did you have any parting words for the audience since we finally have you back on the air for a little bit?
Yes, indeed. Again, I just want, number one, I want to thank you tremendously for inviting me to your program. I really enjoyed this. It has been a while since I've been on the air. That's another thing. Jeannie says, well, me not on the air helps our relationship. I don't know how that works exactly, but
he's selfish. He is selfish. Share, Jeannie.
No, I think he may be on to something, because I know when I'm on the air, I'm fighting this cracker. I'm angry about this cracker. I'm enraged, and I'm fighting. I'm on the battlefield. As a result, when you come home, you may not know how to take that armor off. You know, because you gotta fight somebody who wants to fight you.
But you got God's gift now. You got God's gift now, Jeannie. Give her a chance. Give her a chance.
I think that's the conclusion you've come to. Like, okay, I think you may have some points in that. But I definitely enjoyed this. It was very refreshing for me. But I want to tell everyone who is within listening range of my voice to get this book. And I'm not just saying that because you invited me to your program. I'm saying it again because it has done wonders for my personal relationship. And so I'm telling you this from personal experience. Get a copy of this book. Again, email the sister, do whatever you need to do, Facebook her, or just go to warrenhorizon.com, go to the store, get a copy. And this is not only for sisters, brothers. You all need to get a copy of this too, because even if you're not in a relationship, read this book. And in that way, when you do get into a relationship and you really like this sister, you're like, hey, I think I'm going to keep her. One thing you might want to do is say, yes, sister, let me just give you a little book to read. Drop it on her. Now, if she reads this book and gives you a whole lot of pushback, she might be one. You're like, okay, let me take that copy back. You know what I'm saying? Let me get that back and hold on for the right sister who comes along, who reads it and says, hey, maybe I don't agree with everything, but can we talk about it? That's an opening right there, you know what I'm saying? Because maybe she's never heard of some of this stuff. So, at least she's willing to talk to you about it. You guys can go through it. And so what to expect in your relationship. You guys are coming at an equal playing field. And, you can go back to the book. When something's not working right, hey, let's sit down, let's open the book, and let's go back and refer to how we can make it right. And sisters, again, this is a book for us. A lot of times I have sisters who might read something good and say, what about the brother? What do you know? It's not about the brother. It's about us. Black men who are listening, if you want to write a book for the brothers, write a book for the brothers. But this one that the sister gave and created is for us. Is extremely important to the black family, to the future of the black race. Literally to the future of the black race. I mean, we're going to have healthy, successful relationships between the black man and the black woman. Well, that means that will translate into having healthy and successful children that we can raise up. And that's our future, that's our lineage. So it has to start somewhere, and this is a great starting point. And I know we talked last night about a lot of black stuff. I know I said crack a lot. So if you listen to the show and you were a little offended or not uncomfortable about that, this book is not real cracker down. So you can read the book too and not get too into the cracker. And it's something you can go give. I even given this quiet as kept to my mama. She's reading it. She's reading it. So I'm like, I'm waiting for her to kind of talk to me about it. But she's like, I'm reading my book, and I'm seeing her reading. I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. I can't wait to really have a discussion over this. So you can give this to anybody, any black woman that you know who may value the information, and definitely tune into the Sister Show. It's a dynamic show. It's a powerful show. It also is well worthy of its title, Message of the Black Family. It empowers us as a family unit and how to move forward. And again, I mean, I'm just extremely happy to have you as part of War on the Horizon. As the black female, I know we have another sister on this station now too. She's doing a fantastic job on Sunday evenings. But once I left the show, and I actually, Jean told the story, I recommended that you be on the show. I said, I think she'd make a great show host. You think so? I said, yeah, let's bring her on kind of subtly. I want to kind of do the subtle thing. Now Jean thinks it's his idea. I invited her to the show. Yeah, that's your idea. Yeah, that's right. It was your idea. So yeah, thank you for being a great show host. Thank you for providing us with these materials, and that's pretty much all I have to say at this time.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and for recommending me. You've been an inspiration since the first time I heard your show. Always charismatic, always funny, always strong. So I definitely appreciate it, and we will have to see if we can get you back sometime in the future.
Sorry, make sure you add jeans.
Exactly.
But no, thank you, sister.
Thank you, BB4ODA.
BB4ODA.
All right, brothers and sisters. Well, that brings us to the close of another God's Gift program. I do want to let you know we will be back next week. I'm doing this program weekly until we're done with the God's Gift series. We're going to put together chapters 5 and 8 next week. We're going to be talking about nourishing your family as well as healing your family naturally. We're going to have on a special guest, a good friend of mine, Sister Chantel Muhammad. If you remember way back in the day to the very, very first show I had around this time last year, actually, she was one of my guests on the very first program, helped me get through it and gave us an excellent program to watch. So, or listen to, I should say. So she will be back on next week as we talk about chapters 5 and 8. Again, if you want to keep up with me, go to www.authorangela.freeman.com. You can see past shows, blog posts. I try to throw up a recipe every now and then, and information on whatever is going on at the moment. So always go there, stay up to date. And right now we have Brother DJ coming on with the Cipher program. They're going to be talking about the Christian sensibility. That always is a hot topic for them. So just be sure that you stay tuned and listen in. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Peace.
Goddess, is obvious, this devil got us at each other's throats like we don't need each other just to stay afloat. I took a solemn oath I wouldn't abandon you. Be a man for you, stand for you, let it bang for you. Be omnipresent, setting a standard for our children. Living life in the likeness and image of ourselves, bias and forwards in the wilderness and hells of North America. Goddess incarnate, a